Zenitsu, and today we'll be getting into my first ever Demon Slayer What If. And this is, of course, for 1000 subscribers, so thanks a lot for that. If you guys liked the video, then be sure to get it to 10 likes for part 2, but without further ado, let's just get straight into What If Tanjiro had moon breathing. Also, manga spoilers ahead. Now, back in the past, Yorrichi has just left after visiting his brother's family, aka Tanjiro's ancestors, who hadn't been visited by their actual father slash grandfather for a while now, but suddenly a purplely clad figure appeared in front of them. It was Kokushibo in his demon form, who had finally come to visit his family. The man sputtered, Father? What what happened to you? He asked him shakily. His father couldn't have become a demon, right? I have come here to pass on my learnings to you. He told them quite simply as he gave a very quick smile toward his granddaughter, but he tried to hide it as he continued. My legacy shall not die, and it shall go through this family, and you will be the one to start it. He pointed at his son, who quickly stood up and then started to learn from Kokushino, learning the art of moon breathing. Now, back in the present day, the Kamado family had two very unusual traditions. One is, of course, at every new year, the dance of the fire god is performed by the oldest man in the family. But there is another thing. The dance of the moon is performed at every first and last full moon of the year, in which the oldest man of the Kamado family grasps a wooden sword very tightly and performs every form of the dance of the moon, also known as moon breathing, which makes beautiful slices in the air. After performing all the forms of the Dance of the Moon, the user performs the very last form and cuts a tree in half with a wooden sword. Of course, a small tree for Tanjiro, as he isn't that old. This takes around an hour, as often the user needs some breaks, especially if they are young. The Kamado family is quite normal. They sell coal for a living and have their oldest son saw that coal in the village, which is quite a long journey that the oldest son, that of course being Tanjiro Kamado, had to go on, as his father was deathly ill. One day his father had indeed passed. One day, Tanjiro walked down to the village and helped out all around selling coal, and stayed there so long that it turned night, and one man let him stay in his hut, which he did and thanked him. Normally, this wouldn't be anything to have to sleep at another person's house. However, in this world, there are threats called demons, which only attack at night and eat humans, making Tanjiro worry for his family. But it'll be fine, right? The next day, Tanjiro went back up the mountain just to find his entire family slaughtered. His mother was facing the wall, completely covered in blood, with his youngest brother. His face contorted in fear as he ran toward Nezuko, who was laying outside, clutching her little brother, with the axe next to them. As Tanjiro ran toward them, he checked on Nezuko and realized she wasn't dead yet, so he picked her up and an axe that laid next to her and began to run down the mountain screaming for help. He had checked on his little brother as well, but he had died. Suddenly, Nezuko woke up and Tanjiro picked up a very weird scent from her. She didn't smell human anymore. Tanjiro could tell because of his extraordinary sense of smell, and as Nezuko woke up, she came in to attack Tanjiro, who was barely able to use his stick to clamp her mouth shut, as tears came rolling down her face again. It seemed Nezuko didn't want to do this. Behind Nezuko, a good distance apart, came a man in a split-color Haori who drew a sword and told Tanjiro to get away from the demon. No, you can't hurt her, she's my sister! Tanjiro shouted at him as he walked back a little, with Nezuko, but the man in the Haori didn't back down, and out of nowhere he blitzed toward them and attempted to cut off her head, but it wasn't successful as Tanjiro managed to evade the attack with Nezuko, however in the process getting his hair chopped off. The man questioned him. Why are you protecting it? He asked him. She's my sister, my little sister. But the man didn't say a thing as he blitzed toward him again and dragged Nezuko by the shoulder back to his original position, faster than Tanjiro could even see. My job is to slay demons. Needless to say, I'm going to decapitate your sister. Wait! She hasn't killed anyone yet. Back at my home, there was another scent I'd never smelled before. That was probably one who murdered my family. It was Nezuko. I don't know why she becomes something like that, but still, it's quite simple. It was because their wounds were contaminated with demon blood. That's how man-eating demons multiply. The man replied coldly, but Tanjiro quickly retorted, Nezuko would never eat humans. But the man just as coldly before replied, You've gotta be kidding. She was about to eat you, then and there. No, you're wrong. I'm sure she still knows who I am. I won't let her eat anyone, so please, don't kill her. I swear, I'll turn her back into a human. She can't be healed. She can never go back, the man replied, but was almost instantly cut off. I'll find a way, no matter what. So please, please don't kill her. I'll hunt down the demon who killed my family. I'll make everything alright. Please. But the man drew his blade forward and turned it toward Nezuko, preparing to cut her head off then and there, but Tanjiro just kept on shouting, "Please, don't do it!" And he kneeled down. "I'm begging you not to. Please. Just don't kill my little sister." And tears fell from his eyes. Out of nowhere, the man began to grit his teeth and shouted, "Don't ever give others the chance to murder you." Tanjiro was surprised and his eyes widened, but the man continued, "Stop that pathetic growling. If it was the least bit effective, your family wouldn't be dead. Can someone as weak as you, who can't even take the initiative in such a situation, really heal his sister, hunt down the enemy? Don't make me laugh. The weak don't have a choice in this. Their only fate is to be relentlessly crushed by the strong. The demons might know how to cure your sister, but don't think a demon would respect your will or wishes. Of course, I do not have respect for you either. That's just how it is. Why did you throw yourself over your sister before this? Was this your way of protecting her? Why didn't you swing your axe? Why did you show your back to me? All that led to me being able to capture your sister. I could have almost killed her, along with you." But inside, the man truly felt bad for the kid and began to sympathize with him. He was almost trying to telepathically speak to him, encouraging him to now take the initiative and protect his sister. But now, even the man was beginning to feel some despair. It had been his job to protect this boy's family, but he had come half a day too late. Perhaps his family wouldn't have ended up dead. But the man snapped out of it. There was no way to turn back time, and he needed to accept it. He had made a mistake in this, but that still didn't give him the right to despair about it. He needed to be strong, always, and began encouraging the boy in front of him again, in his mind. The man once again drew his blade to Nezuko, but this time Tanjiro finally wiped away his tears. "No!" But the man fearlessly stabbed Nezuko. "Stop!" And Tanjiro threw the sword right at his face, which the man blocked with his sword, almost instantly. And now Tanjiro finally began to take the initiative, grabbing another stone, and the hatchet he had brought with him, and he began to run through the snowy forest around the man, clattering at the half-and-half Haori, and threw the stone right at his face before charging in with a straightforward attack. And the rage fueling him, he suddenly sensed the hand on his shoulder, which surprised him before he began to remember. The moon ritual. Why does he remember things now? Maybe it could help him, so Tanjiro began charging at Gyu. But the axe was gone? Gyu called Tanjiro foolish as he knocked the boy out with his sword, but from above the axe seemed to be creating small moons which suddenly caught the attention of the man, who barely dodged it in surprise, but it even was able to cut off his hair. It seemed this boy had just used a breathing style. But what kind of breathing style was that? He had never seen something that created crescent-shaped slices in the air. But how? Suddenly the man named Gyu began to think. Yes, when Tanjiro hid behind the tree, it seemed like his movement suddenly switched, but he hadn't quite realized it. The kid's footwork changed as he threw the rock, and it seemed that he had thrown the axe alongside it. But Gyu was too concentrated on Tanjiro to see it beforehand, as Tanjiro had been hiding his hands behind his back to fool him into thinking he was still armed. This boy was truly something special. He had come up with something this fast, and even with the thoughts of his family having died still etched so deeply in his mind. Truly incredible. Gyu began to feel a little respect for the kid and completely let his guard down as Nezuko suddenly kicked him aside and began charging at their brother. "Crap, she's going to devour him," thought Gyu, but he was shown wrong, as instead of devouring her brother, she jumped in front of him, protecting her brother and growling at Gyu, then began to try and fight Gyu, just to protect her brother, whilst Gyu was still analyzing the situation. He had never seen anything like this. He had seen a situation similar to this, in which the brother tried to convince him that their sister or little brother was not dangerous at all, but then got murdered. But it seemed that he finally accepted that these siblings were different from the others. They were special. So instead of killing her, he knocked Nezuko out with a chop to the neck. The next thing Tanjiro knew was him laying next to Nezuko. He was wearing some bamboo in front of her face to stop her from accidentally devouring a human, as Gyu began to explain about an old man who Tanjiro should go and meet. "The old man lives at Mount Saguri. When you meet him, tell him Tomioka Gyu sent you." Tanjiro nodded and Gyu left. After this, Tanjiro buried his family, prayed, and the next day, after some convincing on Tanjiro's part, set out on his journey to meet the old man living at Mount Saguri. Now I hope you all enjoyed this video. This was a bit of an experiment as I've never made a Demon Slayer what if, but I hope you liked it. If you did, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, but without further ado, this was Zenitsu and I am out.